All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome
Who's
to
having
Midday
a
Due Diligence. Be sure to like and subscribe as you guys pile in. Let's get a little undertone, little tunes going.
There we go.
Yeah. Be sure that you like and subscribe as you fall in if you haven't already. We're going to be talking, of course, Dallas Cowboys, and they took on and demolished the Indianapolis Colts in the fourth quarter. It was a tighter game, not the prettiest game up to that point, but absolutely steamrolled the Colts. And then, of course, there's the Texans coming up. This is a soft part of the schedule, but you also have OBJ to be on the lookout for. And there's a lot in question, a lot in play as far as the Odell Beckham Jr. situation goes. There's some stuff there's stuff coming out today that I can't help but feel if it was really a concern, it would have already been said out in the social media world when he visited his other two teams.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of my thing about it is, okay, all right, y'all, you're concerned about the physical. Was Buffalo concerned? Were the Giants concerned? We didn't hear a whole lot about that, so we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But first, guys,
there's a lot to talk about on that. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Definitely, we got the Colts, 54-19. This game was a lot closer through three quarters, but you guys ever seen anything like that fourth quarter of football from the Dallas Cowboys?
no.
I was trying to think. Honestly, I was trying to think about like what we did in the third quarter last year to the Panthers. But that one was only like 21 points or something like that. And so I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
No.
At
In
all.
fact, the guys, I want to say it was on 105.3 The Fan, were going through, and it hasn't happened since like 1932 that there's been one quarter like that. So, absolutely insane.
Check this out, Massey.
No,
Oh,
because you're the beard gang.
All you bearded folks
beard
look alike.
gangs.
I love it.
All us beard people look alike. Yeah, man, that's
Right.
that's rough, Gregory. All right, but
Yeah.
no, just kidding. Nah, all good. I'll take that as a compliment. All right.
So, okay, the 33-point fourth quarter. Now, here's the interesting part is I have been kind of listening to people, of course. I heard Bobby Belt a little bit earlier say that, you know what, I know that it's 54-19, but three quarters of that maybe perhaps wasn't entirely all that impressive. And that's the funny part is they really didn't play all that well.
I absolutely have concerns. If you've looked at a couple of our games at the first half, we're not first half teams. And not to bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, but they are in the shadow lurking, 2 weeks away from this game. And that they're a first half team. If you've looked at their games, they've put up the majority of their points in the first half, where we have not been. And so besides that game with Chicago that we came out of the gates, just swinging, and Minnesota, but we're not a lot of luster in the first half, and I think we've really got to do something about that.
Dak has always been a slow starter, like his entire career. Dak, as great as he is, Dak is very much a rhythm passer. So
Right.
if he's got to get into a rhythm, we need to do a better job of getting Dak into a rhythm earlier in games. Because he's got to get that rhythm going, and then once he's got that rhythm going, he's unstoppable. So we do need to do a better job of getting him in that rhythm faster. You can see it in some games, like Cam mentioned, Minnesota, Chicago, where he was in that rhythm. He got in that rhythm very quickly. We need to find out what exactly we did in those games and use that, put that into play. And maybe it's going up tempo. Maybe it's going up tempo to start the game because we know Dak is elite at up tempo. So maybe getting him in rhythm would be like, hey, just go up tempo to start this game and kind of read the defense and how it's what they're giving you, and just go and get him some rhythm throws.
Yeah, I don't like playing from behind.
Yeah. I think it's also, I think Kellen Moore has done a great job, but I think that you can help with the play calling as far as getting started a little bit quicker. They love going downfield, and I think that what they want to do is they never stray away from what they want to do. And it's funny that we talk about getting off to a slow start because that first possession is usually your scripted plays. And that's the part that kind of baffles me is Kellen Moore has done such an exceptional job in the second half this season. I mean, he has been phenomenal in the second half. I'm just curious about these scripted plays, and we're getting off to slow starts and, Dak getting in rhythm. And does it matter? Like, did the scripted plays not matter if your quarterback isn't in rhythm and not necessarily seeing everything, or whatever the case may be? But it's a really interesting situation because you've got a quarterback who is playing at a great level, with the exception of how he starts and maybe a throw in the middle of the game. And then you got a play caller who is absolutely killing it, with the exception of the slow starts and the occasional double reverse that ends up in disaster. Outside of that, if this is a close game, and whatever this is, if the game is close going into the second half, I feel outstanding going up against pretty much anybody.
Right.
No, you're right.
So with that, let's do a little star up. All right, let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Who do you guys have? Who's your star up player?
Go ahead, Mass, because mine's a little different.
Man, on the offensive side, I'm going CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb had an incredible day. We basically didn't. Again, it kind of stinks for CeeDee Lamb because there's this big stigma for right now for CeeDee Lamb is he doesn't have. He's up there in yards. He's playing very well, but he doesn't have a ton of 100-yard games. And there's been 3 games this season. I think 3. I think 3, where the Cowboys have had a big lead in the fourth quarter, and he has like 70, 80 yards, and they just stop throwing because there's no need to throw anymore. They're just running out the clock, and he doesn't get that 100-yard game because of that. So, but him in this game from the jump has been amazing. His ability to, stay on not go down on that first tackle, that first touchdown, to roll on the body, keep his feet, keep himself off the ground. He played very physical in this game, ran over the safety a little bit. Yeah, right there. He's on pace for an amazing year. And a lot of that is not even getting passes thrown to him in the fourth quarter because the game's over.
Right.
So he could be on for more. I said 1,500 yards. He'd get 1,500 yards this year. He's not on pace for that, but he could be, as if we weren't blowing out so many teams. We have the largest point differential in the league. So honestly, if we were playing a lot of closer games, he might be on pace for 1,500 yards, but I don't know that for sure. But I just think he played phenomenal in the game, and he is establishing himself as wide receiver 1. People, stop saying he's not a wide receiver 1. He definitely is.
Yeah, and I still go back to that Giants game, and it seemed like after the drops, and it was just an atrocious nightmare of a first half. And I think after that, we really haven't seen, we saw a false start. We've seen like maybe 1 drop after that game. But really, man, this is a guy who has stepped his game up tremendously ever since, we saw him that first half against the Giants. Everybody's going, man. I mean, we were ready to kick the dude out the door. I mean, we're like, next contract. I'm not signing that to a next. That was really a discussion. And since then, he's been a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL since that Giants game.
Yeah, I think he only has 4 drops on the entire year.
And I think 3 of them came in that game.
The Giants game.
Right.
Serious. So that's a great choice. Camber, who you got?
Okay, so I'm breaking the rules. Shocker. Because I thought about it, trying to pick one on one side and pick one on the other side, and then something came to me. It's the entire 2022 draft class for both sides in this game. I mean, look at it. You know, you've got you got Damone Clark, you got Deron Bland balling out there. On the other side, you had, I mean, both tight ends, the rookie tight ends are out there blocking their asses off. You get Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith had a solid game. Even when they moved him into guard, there was big things happening. So I have got to say, and then Malik Davis, you know, he gets his first touchdown in all of this. So I am saying the 2022 draft class for both sides.
Hey.
It was a hell of a game for him.
Tyler Smith seeing time at guard in game. It's all happening.
Things happened.
It's all happening. I love it. And, you know, that Tyler Smith getting moved inside, and I got to wonder, that's got to be about preparing for Tyron to be back. I mean, Jason Peters has been here long enough, I mean, since the start of the season, that, you know, this isn't, are we debating, you know, changing how our offensive line is? But no, I think it is without question. Oh, God.
That's cold. That's cold, Professor.
It's true. It's true.
Cold. He got some snaps at the end of the game. All right.
Yeah.
Matt Willetsko is a lonely man.
Right. He's on IR, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think out of everyone else, John Ridgway's not on the team anymore, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Please, let's not talk about that. I will get upset.
Like
we're going to have to have a little midday mass if we go there.
He's playing a lot in Washington.
He's dominating in Washington.
He's playing well.
He's playing a lot, and he's playing with probably the best tandem of defensive tackles.
And that's the other thing. He's getting on the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna upset me. So who's your star up, Steven?
You know, I'm gonna go with Tony Pollard. I mean, it's kind of an obvious choice. You know, had great numbers once again. Just the yards per carry is dominant. He's averaging, I think, 6.4 yards per touch when you factor in the receiving yards. And, you know, he's not catching the ball a ton out of the backfield, but when he is, big plays are happening. And that has continued on against the Colts as well. And so I am really, really impressed with what Tony Pollard has done. And that tandem of he and Zeke have just continued to prove to be, just incredible and unstoppable.
They're both in the top 20 in the NFL in rushing yards, which is wild. They're the only team that has two running backs in the top 20 in yards.
And they
each have 8 touchdowns.
And in that last game, you know who had more average yards per carry in that game?
Zeke.
No,
Pollard did. Oh yeah,
he had a couple.
He had two back-to-back runs that were really good.
Yeah, they did two of those sweeps to him back to back, and I'm sorry, those were some moves that CD put on.
Yeah,
those. I mean,
we'll get to that. Steve. Let's. Oh man, I got so much to say on this, but yeah.
But I'm with you. Defensive side of the ball, star up.
So there's 2 guys that you can go. There's 2 guys, and I don't want to pick one that I think Steven's going to pick, so I'm trying to read his face right now.
There's 3 of us.
I know, but
we know who the 2 are. Like,
I'm gonna go with my guy because I was pounding the table for him last year. I said that when he gets fully healthy, he could be the best safety on the team. He started to play better and better as the year went on, and he's been playing outstanding this year, and he had his best game in the Cowboys jersey against his former team, and that is Malik Hooker. Outstanding game. We saw flashes of his ball hawk ability that he showed early in his career before his injuries with that amazing diving interception off the tip pass. And then again, ball hawk knows where to go, where the ball is going to be, knows where to be to find the ball, scoop and score for the fumble recovery. Malik Hooker played outstanding in this game, and he's got my star up.
Camber, go ahead, take the other one.
Well, I kind of.
She took the draft class for
I took the
offense
whole
and
draft
defense.
class for offense and defense, but we're gonna say Deron Bland. I mean, it's clear that we're gonna say Deron Bland, but I'll let you elaborate on it because it clearly was Deron Bland.
Well, Deron Bland, those interceptions were not easy. I think a lot of corners, those end up being, PBUs. Like you got in there, good job breaking up that pass. I don't think a lot of guys come away with possession of those football games.
That second one was really impressive because it was basically they caught it at the same time and he wrestled it away. He said, "Nope, this ball's mine."
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, just undercutting the receiver. And I had my reservations about not Deron Bland. It wasn't about Deron Bland. It was about the fact that a day 3 rookie was going to be on the field so much. Once Jordan Lewis went down, I was like, man, we are going to realize how much we miss Jordan Lewis, and we'll learn to appreciate him. And ever since then, the Green Bay game, I mean, that wasn't great for Deron Bland, but otherwise, he's been really, really spectacular.
Look, no one is eating more crow than me on Deron Bland, and I will have a midday mass moment on this because no one is, because I stood on a table and said Isaac Taylor Stewart, who was an undrafted free agent for us, was a better player than Bland. Stood on the table after the draft and said that. And I said, Isaac Taylor Stewart will play more. He's a better player. I don't know why we drafted Bland. Couldn't be more wrong. Couldn't be more of a swing and miss than Sammy Sosa in a home run derby. Like, it was just complete miss. And you know what? Like, I own it. And he has proved me wrong. And I'm loving the kid. Loving his play. It's been outstanding. So, yeah, definitely.
And Gregory is right. We saw the flashes of Barr when Barr was in Minnesota, and we saw it this game, and that was nice to see that come around.
Yeah, he had a much better game, and DeMarcus Lawrence had a really nice game. And let me tell you,
Dorrance had a nice. You could just keep going down the list, except for that one side of the corners.
Yeah,
over there.
That's a.
But otherwise, you can be like, yeah, he did good. He did good.
A lot of people are looking at Micah Parsons and saying, he didn't win a whole lot, against a rookie tackle. He had 4 pressures. That's okay. But the thing is, if you watch that game, he actually had one of his better run-stopping games of the season, and it started right early on from the get-go. He was a lot better in run support this week than we've seen him. I mean, there's been times when they were like, okay, we want you for passing downs. We understand that this is more of a rushing down. You'll see him on the sideline a little bit more to conserve that energy so that he can get after the quarterback in the fourth quarter. But I saw him make some really nice reads, scrape down the line, and get to the ball carrier a few times, and probably did so better than he's done all year.
Look, he was our fourth highest rated player, because it was Bland, Malik, Dorrance Armstrong.
Look, Parsons had a really good game, and the whole defensive line had a good game. Go back and watch that game and look how fast Matt Ryan was snapping the ball and getting it out of his hand. They were not getting them. There was a few plays where he held on to it. He got sacked a couple times. There was a few plays where he held on to it to let some routes develop. But he was, for the most part, getting the snap and throwing it to his first read. He was getting the ball out of his hand so fast that nobody's sacking him. So that was their game plan from the beginning. Like, hey, get the ball out of your hands as fast as possible because this pass rush is going to be on you. And even with that, they were still getting close.
Yeah, and Donovan Wilson's another guy who played an outstanding game. Gregory mentioned that. And so,
the defense had a good game.
And
the offense in the second half,
5 turnovers.
Even in the first half, because everybody was like, oh, we were playing it close to the first half. I get it. Like, we still put up 21 points in the first half. That's on pace for 42 in a game. That's really good. So
it's true. I think it's more so that, like, the Dak interception that comes. And you can break them down to this one's his fault, this one's on the receiver, this one. But it's happening. That's the issue. That's the big bugaboo right now, that we kind of, even though these games end up not very close, it's still, well, there's going to be a close game at some point, and
you want it cleaned up. Yeah,
football. Yeah, you need to clean that up. And I don't know what the answer is, because the one to Gallup, there's been a couple to Gallup where they thought they had the neutral zone infraction the week before. I don't know exactly what the confusion was on this one, if there was confusion or if Gilmore just made a good play.
I think it was on both of them, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think Dak should have thrown the ball, and I think Gallup needs to body the guy more. I mean, he's not a little guy,
not to take it completely away from Dak, because Dak has to hold a responsibility for throwing it. But I tweeted this out, and I retweeted your tweet, Stevie, and tweeted this out. Basically, a lot of times when quarterbacks are able to see that, and they're seeing, hey, my guy's getting hit downfield or grabbed downfield, they throw the ball to that guy, not for the purpose of, hey, I want to complete this pass, but they throw it there saying, hey, ref, look where I'm throwing the ball and look at what's going on right there, and call the flag, and we get a first down. Now, yes, it's a little bit on Dak, because when you do that, you run the risk of them not calling it. So if they don't call it, you just threw a highly questionable pass that could get knocked down, or it could get intercepted. And that's what happened. They didn't call it, and it got intercepted. So yeah, it is on Dak. It is partly on Dak, because he took that risk. He's throwing it at them saying, hey, look at this. He's getting mugged down there. They didn't call it. It turned up to be an interception.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mind, the hand fighting. I don't mind going, physical play downfield, that type of stuff. But had his hands in his face mask. That should be illegal. But
Oh yeah, there was two different penalties on that one play by Gilmore, but
probably
it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh well. Still won 54-19.
Yeah.
Can't be that bad. Life goes on. What stood out to you though most about the offense? Because the third quarter, they don't do a whole heck of a lot in quarter number 3, and then suddenly erupt. Is this just another case of now your identity is becoming solidified with the run game and defense? Because that's pretty much what won you the ball game there in the fourth quarter, is the run game and defense.
No, I definitely think I think you're spot on, that they're taking advantage of these turnovers and that the defense is causing. And that's a big shout out to Kellen Moore, that he's not abandoning the run game.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the season, they'd run it a couple times, it didn't work. You'd see pass happy Kellen in his bag wanting to go to that, where they have stayed with the run game and really worn these teams down because of it.
I think it's a lot of the you're spot on, and I think it's a lot of the development of these young tight ends and their ability to catch, their ability to block, that is allowing Kellen in this offense to come out with some exotic looks. Like I tweeted out, and a couple of people tweeted out. I wasn't me originally. It was Joey Ikes that pointed it out, and I retweeted it. They ran 14 personnel, which is 1 running back and 4 tight ends on the field. No wide receivers. They had 4 tight ends and 1 running back on the field. And they lined up like a college offense with double stacks on each side, which is a tight end on each side and then a tight end stacked up behind them. And like, who does that? No other team does that. No other team. Yeah, shout out to Linda Wells. He's coaching his tight ends very well. No other team is scoring as many points with 13 and 14 and 12 personnel as the Cowboys. We all know from last year that Kellen Moore, or years before, Kellen Moore loved 12 personnel. That was when he was at his best. Now he's implementing 13 and 14 personnel with more tight ends, and these guys are making plays, and it's allowing us to establish that run and then establish play action, which is just making it hard to stop this offense.
And I also have to shout out to CeeDee Lamb real quick too, and his blocking. That he doesn't have that Coop mentality that, oh, I'm not involved in the play. He's actually been in there, been physical.
He's developing into a good blocking wide receiver. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I watch the Cowboys way more than I watch anybody else, but who else is even running 4 tight ends out onto the field for plays? Like, I can understand if you have like a something like once or twice in a game, but this is a part of the offense.
Yes, and he has. Oh man, what game? A couple games back, he ran. I think it was against the Vikings. Actually, they ran 0-4 personnel, which is no running backs and 4 tight ends out there, and like it was the first time in a couple years that any offense had ran it, and they ran it for 6 straight plays, and all of them got positive yards. But on all, I think 5 of the 6 plays had a success rate. Depending on the down, you get the success rate, and they did it on 5 of 6 plays. So very few teams have very few teams even have 4 tight ends they're dressing every week. And then the ones that do, like, not many people are getting them all on the field at once. It's just such a rare formation. And I think it's throwing defenses off, because when you have offensive formations and plays that are not seen a lot, the defenses don't know how to react, and you're not getting a lot. And you could see when they did that 14 personnel with the double stacks, there was visible confusion on the defense. They were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Because it's lined up like receivers, but they're tight ends. So it's like, okay, what are they going to do here? It's a little bit different. And we ran the ball, of all things. So like, it's interesting, and it's confusing defenses right now, and that's why Kellen Moore and the Cowboys offense is rolling.
The other thing that I noticed is I really have wanted Kellen to do a better job of making the passing game an extension of the run game. And if you watch some of these routes that CeeDee Lamb ran, we're talking very short. We're talking, within 5 yards, get him in motion. I think it was Gregory mentioned CD going in motion a lot more. We saw that. And then kind of just getting just beyond the line of scrimmage. Let's whip it out to him, get CeeDee Lamb in space, let him work with the ball in his hands. We've seen them hand it off to him. But, man, Kellen Moore has been just outstanding in his development as an offensive play caller, and some of the things that we were frustrated with him in years past, and I think this is one of them, is, man, can you create a scenario where we're putting the ball in the playmaker's hands instead of going downfield 15 yards? Dak has to throw it to him in coverage. No, put it in their hands and let them go to work. And man, that might be the biggest improvement for Kellen Moore this season.
Yeah, and let me just say this real quick, and I concur with you 100%. You're spot on. Having Michael Gallup finally start to feel more comfortable and back and play up to his ability is helping this offense a lot. And his 2 touchdown passes are vintage Michael Gallup plays that have made him who he was. One, obviously the second touchdown, the go up in the corner of the end zone. He's so good at getting his body and then contorting his body to get his feet down. He got his knee down in this one. That's vintage Michael Gallup. But also the first touchdown. If you go back and watch the film, he's not running that route. That's not his route. His route was a curl. He comes up and he stops and looks at Dak. And then when he looks at Dak, he notices, oh, Dak is scrambling. So what does he do? Scramble drill. I'm crossing the field, running the same way as Dak, and I'm giving him a target in the middle of the field to say, hey, you're running, here's your escape valve, throw it to me, I'm in the middle. Dak found him, hit him, and he took it up the field for a short touchdown. Just that's what Gallup is so good at, the scramble drill when Dak is in trouble and scrambling and finding a way to get open, and he's starting to fill it again. So that's just opening the offense even more.
Yeah, and if you watch that play again, watch how quickly Michael Gallup reacts to Dak getting out of the pocket.
Absolutely.
It's not just the fact that he did it. It's that they're in sync. I mean, right whenever Dak starts to take off, it's almost like they were simultaneous in it. It was really, really impressive. And Michael Gallup, We talk about the toughness. We kind of gave him this baby Dez label based on those types of catches that he had in the end zone. I really, really am looking forward to the Michael Gallup that we can take shots down the sideline to. That's the guy we haven't seen yet in his return. There's been acrobatics on the sideline. There's been, like you said, the scramble drill, the connection with Dak Prescott. The only thing we're lacking so far from the old Michael Gallup is the ability to take those shots down the field and combine that with the acrobatics on the sideline.
Absolutely.
Going to the defensive side of the ball, it was such a huge part of the win for the Dallas Cowboys. And then I think we'll talk a little bit about the OBJ situation.
Who? I haven't heard that.
Are we doing the Voldemort thing? He who must not be named.
He who must not be named, yes.
Even though we like him and want him on the team. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But so another guy that showed out to me and has been an ascending player on this team is Sam Williams. I know that we've already mentioned the whole rookie class, but Sam Williams has really come a long way. And I think that as a run stopper, because Jonathan Taylor is a hell of a player. I mean, that's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And he had moments, there were flashes where he looked good, but all in all, you look at this gauntlet of running backs that the Cowboys have had to deal with and will continue to deal with through the end of the season. But I was really impressed with how Sam Williams has been able to help out this defense. And I think without that extra support in the run game, it's likely that extending drives for the Colts would probably result more in getting that other defensive back, that other corner spot exposed. So, those are kind of the chain reactions to getting a stop in the run game. I think that actually really, really has been a big part of the Dallas Cowboys since that Green Bay game.
And Hankins definitely had an absolutely fantastic game. That man is a walking wall. But this definitely was his best game for us yet.
Dumpster full of dirt. Love it.
Finally.
Right?
Finally.
Right.
I'm so glad to have him for how long?
The rest of this year. Hopefully we re-sign him to some short-term deal, but yeah.
I was going to say, they will figure it out. I don't know. But how are you guys feeling about Kelvin Joseph? How are you feeling about that corner spot? What do you think we should do?
Cam, you want to address this one first?
Yeah, I have some massive concerns. I have some huge concerns. One of my biggest concerns is that we have a player that is primarily a special teams player that has the second most penalties on our team. He's got to get that stuff cleaned up. He's good coming downhill on the tackle and everything like that. But I think he's burnt toast when he's got to be covering someone deep. And that's when he gets scared and he gets handsy. And I think penalties happen. And, I know that we collectively as a fan base dogged on Anthony Brown in his play. But I'll take it right now over trusting Kelvin Joseph in that corner. And shout out to AB. Heal quickly. So sorry. It sucks.
Definitely get well soon, AB. Here's the thing: is it's a mixed bag with Kelvin Joseph, in my opinion. To be honest with you, the penalties are 100% a concern.
And they're dumb penalties. They're dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, they are in the head.
Mental mistake, not just
on that punt returner. I mean, I saw him doing this a mile away. And, it's been dumb things.
You're going to get some ups and downs. I think with Anthony Brown, as much as, Anthony Brown this year, for whatever reason, has lost the ability to track the ball in the air on deep passes. He has no ability, and we talked about that last week, Stevie. If the ball's in the air and it's deep, Anthony Brown is lost for whatever reason. I think you're going to get a slight upgrade in Kelvin Joseph in that area because Anthony Brown has just been lost. In the run game, Kelvin Joseph is very physical, and he can do a lot in the run game, and he can make plays in the run game. So I think you're going to get an increased run defense on his side. In the intermediate and short throws, I think is where you're going to see a bigger drop off, and you're going to see the drop off because Anthony Brown has played those routes well this year. It's been the deep ball that's really given him trouble. So he's played the intermediate and short routes really well. I think you're going to have some struggles there. You're probably going to give up some third down catches because of his inability to guard those. You're probably going to give up conversions because of penalties, like Cam was saying. So I think it's going to be a mixed bag with Kelvin Joseph, and he just needs to realize, hey, I'm the starter now. I need to focus and I need to prove my worth, because he comes out and he does not perform. I don't know if he's on this team next year. So he needs to step it up, and he needs to realize, hey, this is my shot.
Now, what about this scenario? So Kelvin Joseph, we can agree, even though he's had the penalties, he's been good on special teams at times. I mean, there's been moments when he's been very good on special teams. And if you're a depth player, special teams play helps you get to the active game day roster. We've seen Nahshon Wright inactive. So is it possible that Joseph has been over Wright because of the special teams play, but now with an actual corner spot open, there's also opportunity for Nahshon Wright to maybe get in the mix there? Is it more open competition between those two, or do we feel pretty well that it's going to be Kelvin Joseph and then you call Nahshon Wright up because he's the next corner on the depth chart?
I think it's going to be Joseph. And I think Wright is going to come on and play, and I think he's going to be playing special teams and fill in for that spot a lot for Joseph, because I don't think Joseph is going to be playing as much special teams now that we're relying on him, and that position is so thin. They're going to want to try to protect him, but I think it is Joseph's job to lose. And if he goes out there, I think if he goes out there and he doesn't perform, then he might lose it. But I think he's getting first shot at it.
And then do you think they'll activate Sheffield too, bring him up, just because of the unknown? I mean, this is literally an unknown situation with all this.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility he gets called up. Hopefully he can play special teams. I don't see him actively playing unless more injuries happen, which, knock on wood that there is none, but hopefully he can play special teams. We need him for depth right now.
Yeah, and he could get called up and be inactive on game day.
He can be elevated 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
3 times, exactly. So I don't know anything about this guy, Sheffield. And he's been on the team for, a month?
He's a DQ. He was a DQ guy.
At Minnesota? Or, excuse me,
Atlanta.
He played with Atlanta for 2 years, and he started most of the games that he was there. And then when Quinn left, he didn't start anymore, and then he was cut the next year. So,
okay, so probably a scheme guy.
Yeah, somebody that Quinn likes. Yeah.
So Mendoza's saying he's a solid gunner, so that's good because that's what Kelvin's doing on special teams. So
precisely.
And we know Wright could play special teams too. Wright played a lot of special teams
last year.
Yep, mm-hmm. and a block punt recovery for a touchdown.
Exactly.
So yeah,
that length, man, that length.
Mm-hmm.
And something else. I think that this is just fans, content creators shooting stuff out into space with no kind of evidence. But Kevin King is a 6'3", got long arms. Said that he was sitting out this season to recover from injuries. Obviously, when he said that, he means the whole season. He means I'm going to bypass 2022. But here in December, I got to wonder, if you're feeling okay, if you're feeling all right and you get your hand choice pick of where you want to go to compete for a playoff spot, for a Super Bowl potentially, I mean, just for the sake of it seems like he's got the traits that Dan Quinn likes, and he has been out, getting healthy all season. I don't know. I don't know what else is out there in free agency, and so that's the first guy that comes to my mind.
Yeah, there's a couple guys out there. Kevin King's one of them. Rashad Breeland is another one. We know him from Washington, but he played his best ball after Washington in KC. And then you have, I think he won a Super Bowl in KC.
So there's Janoris Jenkins, Xavier Rhodes, Jimmy Smith, AJ Bouye, Terrence Mitchell, Josh Norman.
Josh Norman's out there. Yeah, I tweeted out a list yesterday.
Mr. Richard Sherman.
I did not include him because that's not
right. I know. Morris Kennedy. Anyone?
Hey,
we got a slot guy. We got a slot.
Yeah.
Oof, man. I might be okay with Canada coming back, but just for depth purposes.
Well, can Bland play on the outside at all?
Who's that?
Oh, Bland? Yeah, absolutely. I think Bland can definitely play on the outside. Absolutely.
So.
That's interesting.
I do know I am taking a corner in this next draft as high as I possibly can. I'm just saying it now.
Yeah, as high as makes sense.
A real corner.
Hopefully, the problem with corner is kind of the same issue that you tend to have with like an offensive tackle. Even though Dallas, Tyler Smith has worked out tremendously, but those top tier guys, they're going to leave you with borderline second rounders who you're going, man, it's too early. It's too early for us to take this guy at 28 or whatever.
At 32, picking at
32. 32, there you go, Mass.
I wasn't going to be the one to say it.
Good job, Mass.
I'll say it.
I'll say it.
Picking at 32.
So, guys, we've been on the watch, and today has been a little bit in flux, kind of up and down. Of course, they courted OBJ yesterday. He got the red carpet rolled out for him. Today, we're seeing all sorts of reports about his health, about his recovery. Jerry sounds uncertain. Is this a part of the act? Is this now the dirty business side, or are there legitimate concerns?
We know 100% that we know 100% that the Dallas Cowboys negotiate with the media. 100%. We know that. The Dallas Cowboys put out stuff. They feed guys like David Moore and a couple other guys. They feed them information to say, oh, we don't like this, or this is an issue, or it's a negotiating tactic. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. We don't know. We do know that the facts are out there. OBJ had a ACL tear in the Super Bowl, his second one. Reports in early May were that the surgery went extremely well and actually prolonged his career because the first surgery he had for the ACL was so bad, and that they fixed all the stuff that was bad in that surgery and that it prolonged his career. Those were reports in May. Now you're hearing, oh, well, they're worried he might not play this year. He might not play the playoffs. Some people are reporting, well, maybe he's not even ready for the playoffs. I don't know how true is that. It usually doesn't take 11 to 12 months to come back from ACL, and not anymore. So we'll have to see the truth on that. But for me, my thing is nothing. If they say, hey, yeah, he cannot play until the playoffs, nothing changes for me, because that's when I wanted him. Right. And I was saying this in the group chat that we have, is that you don't need to play. Yeah, I get it. You want them to play as much as possible together in games. The game situation is different. But you don't need game situations to develop chemistry. You can get that on the practice field. We saw it this year with Cooper Rush and Noah Brown. They had great chemistry, and it immediately translated onto the field because they've been practicing together. So you can get that. And some people just have instant chemistry. Tony Romo and Laurent Robinson, instant chemistry. Some people just have that. So the fact that you're going to say, oh, well, you need 2 to 3 games to get chemistry, I don't believe that. So I think that a player like OBJ could come in and contribute in a week or two. Absolutely. As long as he's practicing. So I want him for the playoffs. If he can go in the playoffs, I'm ready to sign him. That's my personal belief.
Yeah, and I'm with you. The whole, It's been 11 months nearly. I mean, we're at 10 months.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Michael Gallup was what, 8, 9?
8, 9 months.
8, 9 months, and everybody's different. I understand, and this was the second one. We know more about a first-time ACL tear timetable than we would a second one. But like you said, back in the spring, they were talking about this successful surgery. It could prolong his career, and the way that it's now being put out into the media by the Joneses feels very them. Feels very much like y'all are doing this for real. It feels like you mentioned it, communicating through the media, negotiating through the media. We know that Odell Beckham does want a payday.
Yep.
At the end, he said $20 million. He doesn't mean $20 million, but it's to bump that price up to as much as he can possibly get. And we know how this front office can be when it comes to that aspect.
Absolutely. And you guys hit the nail on the head when we first started the show, and we'll get into this now. Like, why he went to New York. He had a visit with New York Giants. They did a physical. No reports that his knee was this bad. He went to Buffalo. They did a physical. No reports that his knee was this bad that he couldn't play. I'm sorry. I know that the Buffalo and New York media, I don't even want to say the New York media, the New York Giants, that area, that media is just as crazy as Dallas media. Everybody knows about New York media. You can't tell me that they would not have found the same thing and nothing would have came out. Nothing at all until he goes to Dallas. Like, it just doesn't add up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is. All this is true. But it just doesn't add up that nothing comes until now.
I'm with you. And like you said, New York. And here's the thing. You mentioned New York. Dallas media is this way about the Cowboys and pretty much only the Cowboys. And then, it's like, oh, yeah, we like the Mavericks and the Rangers and the Stars. They're cool, too. New York they are gung-ho about everything. Both baseball teams, every football team, the basketball team, like all of it, they treat everybody pretty much with the same ruthlessness as they would their football teams. And I can't understand how he could get out of there if something isn't right and it not be reported, like you said. And, HIPAA laws don't really apply.
It wouldn't apply because they're not giving you detailed medical information. They're just saying, hey, we didn't like his physical. Like, we didn't like where he was at in his recovery. Like the Dallas Cowboys just did. It's the same thing. Like, it would be the same exact reports. Like, hey, we don't like where he's at in his recovery to play football. So it would be the same exact report. That's not a HIPAA violation.
The timeline it confuses me. It bothers me a little bit. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The fact that nothing else came out about his health prior with the other 2 visits, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And look, I got a tweet from the caveman himself, Mike, and B&B basically saying like, hey, they're negotiating through the first question guy, which is David Moore. He gets the first question every press conference, every single press conference. This guy gets he gets the first question, and he's one of the guys that they leak stuff to for negotiating purposes. So yeah, he got that report out saying, hey, he might not play. We'll have to see. We'll just have to see what they say. I'm not saying that all this is false. I'm just saying take it with a grain of salt.
I said this earlier. I think Jerry is being quite the politician. He is saying things that are walking right on the fence and not going on to one side or the other. I have to think that if they're saying he's not ready for this season, does not mean he's not ready for the playoffs. Jerry loves the dog and pony show. Mm-hmm. No one's better at putting one on than him. And I think he's playing one to the hilt on this.
Yeah, and Jerry's the expert at that, yeah.
He really is. And
I mean, what other perfect thing is to take him to the Suns and have him see his favorite basketball team, even though they lost? I mean, it's been
the Suns.
Here's my thing. Okay.
No, OBJ's favorite team is the Suns.
Yes,
and that's why they sat on the Suns side, and he was talking to Booker. I mean,
he's a Suns fan.
I don't want that Kardashian guy with them. Keep that juju away. Why Kris Jenner's boyfriend was with him, I don't know. But
I don't know.
I think he's friends with OBJ.
Yeah, Kris Jenner's boyfriend is the fourth guy that was in the seats last night at the game.
The other dude. Okay, I didn't know.
The other dude that no one knew who he was. Yeah. That's who he is.
It's like, where are we going here?
Yeah. We're keeping up with the Kardashians, okay?
Right. Yeah. Well, we aren't. We were forced to because of this situation.
Let me just say this also, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit, leading up to that game. Is look, if OBJ had this terrible physical, and they're basically like, "Hey, your knee's not good, and we're not sure we're gonna sign you." The whole dog and pony show, OBJ laughing and everything happy at that game, like I don't think that would have all taken place if they were like, hey, yeah, we're not going to sign this dude because his knee's not great. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. Like that whole, they're not going to keep the dog and pony show up if just for shits and giggles. Pardon my language.
And this is where, like, business, I understand. I get business, negotiating, all of that stuff. But if you're putting out there that you have questions about a player's health, and there aren't actual questions about the player's health, that's bad form. That's poor form, if you ask me. But I also don't feel like Stephen Jones and Jerry are above it.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is I can't even say like that's just like, how do I word this? Like, I don't think they're lying. I think there might be like, hey, obviously he is coming off from a second ACL surgery in his left knee. Like, hey, there is concerns, there is risk, and they're not saying
not doing any workout for him either.
Exactly, but they're not saying
he doesn't have to.
Not a single one of these reports has said, not a single one that I've seen has said OBJ will not play in the regular season. It's all may not, unlikely, there's a possibility. Like, they're not just coming out and saying, hey, he's not going to play. It's just a lot of cryptic messages going on right now, which goes along with the Cowboys and negotiating contracts.
So at what point do we start going, okay, I don't think this is happening. I don't think this is going to be, I don't think he comes to Dallas. Is it tomorrow? Is it Thursday?
If you get to Thursday, late Thursday, Friday, I don't think it'll happen.
Right. Because he supposedly is going to go and take the offers back and talk to his family and determine what's best for him.
Yeah.
So.
That was apparently his plan the entire time, is that he would go see all three teams, and then go home and discuss the offer with his family.
But we know Jerry, and we know Jerry doesn't like him to leave the building if he wants him.
If he leaves and there's like reports like, hey, there's no contract offer, then I think it's done.
Right.
So
go ahead.
I'm not doing it. You go.
No, I'm good.
I was going to say, do we even want to talk about the Texans?
I was about to say, there's a game that we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Allen is playing instead of Davis Mills because they're just tanking. They are tanking for that first draft spot.
They want Stroud.
I mean, so here's the deal. Stop Damon Pierce. Stay away from Derek Stingley, who's questionable right now.
Here's the deal. Dress and take the field.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
But other than that, we'll all get to say hi to Malik Collins.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. All right, man. They are.
They are so.
They're not good.
They're so.
Man, I'm
not
just looking at their
good.
roster and
It's
It's
and
so
Cooks
bad.
might be out.
Cooks might be
Yeah,
out.
Brandon Cooks is questionable.
Stingley is questionable.
Stingley's questionable. Kenyon Green. Hi, Kenyon Green.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yes.
Kenyon Green, you
Laramie-
know, the
Laramie
draft
Tinsel.
darlings. Yeah, Jalen Petrie,
Yeah,
Baylor safety.
right.
I mean, outside of that, man. This
Yeah.
This team. Well, I mean, the 1-8-1 record kind of tells you a lot.
It does.
So is this another 50 burger? Let's put it that way. Is this another 50 burger?
It's so hard to score 50 points. It's hard to say. Like, honestly, it's so hard to score 50 points. I could see 30 to 40, but it's so hard to just say 50. Like, that's not easy against any team. And that's why it's laughable at people disregarding this 54-point game. It's like,
Right.
do you know how hard it is to score 54 points against an NFL team? I don't care if they're not the best team. Like, 54 points is insane.
Right.
Hey, Indianapolis has a good defense.
They have a really good defense.
They have a good defense.
They were top 10 in points allowed.
Maybe not anymore.
Probably not anymore, yeah. But going
Right.
into that game, they were.
But, you know, here the reason why I don't know that they score 40 or 50 in this game against the Texans is because this is the game. You shorten this game. You run the hell out of the football. You take the air out of it and, you know, get up a couple of scores and just – I'm not saying coast. But
no, I'm not saying coast.
But she is saying coast.
I said coast.
but
I said it.
Like a better
Put
word.
it in neutral and just coast.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of approach that you take against a team like this. Look, they're not as strong as you up front. Their D-line is not very good. So just career day for Tony Pollard. How about that? There's my bold prediction right there. Career day for Tony Pollard. And I wouldn't doubt it if it came on like 14 touches, going for 160 yards. I mean, just going bananas, berserk. I could really see that for Tony Pollard. And I would love for, let's see, who else would I love to have just a massive, huge game? That's tough because it could be anybody. I mean, going up against a team like the Texans.
If Stingley is out or hurt and not really a factor in any of it, my bold prediction is this wide receiver core's they'll get. I'm gonna say, yeah. You know what? Especially with that defensive line, Gallup gets 2 and CD gets 2.
Ooh,
I would love that.
absolutely.
I mean, seriously, look at that. Look at their secondary. Look at their defensive line.
Yeah, Jerry Hughes is pretty old.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
How about this? How about 4 TD passes? One to each tight end.
Oh, nice.
I mean, let's see. What was it? Zeke and Pollard both had 2 touchdowns apiece this past week. So, I mean, as far as like wild, that would be crazy to me.
Yeah.
And it would probably be the most under talked about storyline of the week. But a touchdown pass to 4 different tight ends in one game.
And can we take the red and make sure the red kettle's down there? Because that's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most is
The next red kettle
whatever the
celebration.
next red kettle thing's going to be.
They need to start taking like submissions from fans, like, you know, some
Right.
ideas of how to celebrate in the red kettle. And then the NFL needs to go ahead and mark out that fine for using the red kettle because of being a decent human, which means they're not going to do it. But
Right.
nonetheless,
Absolutely.
Right.
that's how I feel. Score prediction. Let's go.
Whew. 38-9. I'll give them 3 field goals. Because Because it is the Christmas season.
I'm going to say 36-10.
I'm going to go 34-8. 34-8. I don't know if that hits scoregami, but it sounds weird enough.
And we did have a scoregami.
We did.
We did.
54-19 scoregami. It's pretty awesome.
Right.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys hopping in, checking it out. Be sure to like and subscribe the page. If you want to, last second, get your predictions in. There's 40-10. It's lopsided. I mean, even coming out, the line was
17 and a half?
17,
17 and a half, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Midday Due Diligence, part of Pick Six Sports. Be sure that you've liked and subscribed. We'll see you guys next week. Be sure to hit up the Wednesday show. You can also check them out on Thursday when these two do their thing. And then Friday, of course, is the Freestyle Friday. Be sure to join us anytime we have a show, Pick Six Sports. See you later, guys.